I am Zach Kattermari, also known in the community as Kattermari. For right now, I'm essentially TO and promotional kind of supporter and organizer for Biggie Gaming. So a lot of the marketing work and promotional materials that go into Biggie Gaming's events, I've been helping Eric with for the past 3 years now, I believe, since I started his help back in Summer Jam 4, I believe. Bar Battles 2, second installment of our Bar Battles series from Biggie Gaming. Essentially, I'd like to probably sound a little more professional than this, but anyone that knows the Northeast Coast scene a little bit, we're a bunch of big drinkers. So we thought it would be a fantastic idea. Almost every other scene has a kind of Bar Battles event, and we really didn't see that on a larger scale. New York had a couple small bar events. We had small weekly bar events before. We kind of wanted to give something a little bit more significant that would bring the whole, or rather draw the entire Northeast Coast, draw our New York players, draw our M.W.D crew, even if Boston's willing to come down sometimes. But we just wanted to provide that bigger venue for us to really kind of get together and have our community. Bonding sounds like a little bit of a poor choice of words, but more or less we're able to have a good time and get together as players and friends and drink, and of course there's a tournament involved. So most of the just kind of standard average players like myself and other people have a great time just hanging out and drinking with each other. And there's also a tournament here to draw a lot of the more higher level top tier players, and give them a reason to come out and see everybody. Being both a player and a TO it's tough. It's really tough because you have to distinguish a lot between when it's appropriate to actually be a player and have that competitive mindset, and when it's appropriate to kind of put a tournament and organizational properties first. So probably the biggest pro to having that kind of dynamic within myself is to be able to go on a local level, and whether it's running the tournaments myself or showing up and supporting tournaments that I don't necessarily run, such as the Break Weeklies or local battles, their Salty Battle series, any of the New York tournaments, is being able to go out and kind of actually interact with a lot of the lesser known players, meet a lot of new faces, and being able to connect with them as a player, and being able to really convince them to come out and take it a little bit more seriously, or not even necessarily seriously, but just enjoy themselves, enjoy a new experience at a major. And that's how I kind of been able to get or attract a lot of new faces to majors. And I could say this constantly, that's always happening no matter where I go. The way that MLG's taken an approach to kind of breaching the fighting game scene, and just try to attract different fighting game titles. Right now, obviously, they have, I believe they just dropped KOF, but I know that they're still working with Soul Calibur and the MK communities. It's possible, it's definitely possible in theory to be able to not create any problems or turmoil within the scene, but unfortunately it already has. It's impossible to ignore that fact. They've already scheduled multiple MLG tournaments on the same weekends for majors. Granted, it's really difficult considering, especially this year, I can't even believe how many majors there's been in this Road to EVO season so far. I mean, the past 2 months, I think there's been a major every weekend for the past 2 months, which is something we've never seen before. And so it's really tough to give MLG the benefit of the doubt on something like that. They can't really control it. But nonetheless, I think if they really want to make this work, they need to start, their scheduling is an issue. They're planning way too shorthand, and if they kind of took a little bit more preparation, I know they're constrained in a lot of ways, they need to just work on that. And in addition to that, they need to get in some of the more popular games. So a lot of the Capcom games, which I know for a lot of reasons they can't get, but they need to work on getting a lot more popular titles. We love to treat all of our fighting games equally, as equal as possible, but at the end of the day, the players want to play what they want to play, and that's something that no one can really help. So to everybody that isn't involved in the scene, or not necessarily not involved in the scene, but aren't willing to take those steps to make a little bit of travel, attend some of the larger events, and they're a bit intimidated of something like that, people are worried about for a number of reasons. It's usually either financial reasons. I mean, there's a lot of people in the FGC, they're either still in school, so they don't have a lot of income to work with. They're not in the greatest of financial situations for whatever reason it might be, and that makes it very difficult for them to come out. And then there's also the fear of just not being a good player, and they don't want to get beat, they don't want to get embarrassed, they're scared of that, which I'll touch on a little bit later. And then the third reason that I've seen is people just on the more casual scale of everything. You know, they're regular people. They enjoy the games, they like the competition, they have a general interest in the game, but at the end of the day, they still take, you know, their own life, their outside of the, or non-FGC friends, you know, as a priority, and they want to spend their weekends doing other things, which I understand. But nonetheless, anybody that's in those boats, really, I mean, it obviously doesn't hurt you just to check it out and see if it's something that might interest you. If you've never tried it before, you really don't know until you've seen it yourself. I mean, it's a surprise to a lot of people. I've gotten a lot of personal friends to come visit me at some of these majors, especially, you know, the after hours events when we're all hopping around hotel to hotel, playing casuals and drinking a whole bunch. And even people that don't play have a damn blast. And if you play, it's even more interesting. On the other end of things, you know, financially, you can't make it work, you can't make it work. We understand. Your support's always appreciated any way possible, so whether it's whatever you can make room for, whether it's local scene or if you can actually afford to travel, great, do whatever you can. But to those that are just lazy, I mean, there's no excuse. there's no excuse. I mean, I'm sure I say this to, this is the voice of most of the FGC, that, you know, if we're lazy and you don't want to come out and you're complaining about not getting games, not getting better, etc., at that point, that's your own fault. And, you know, we want to be as warm and as welcome as possible, but if, you know, you're not willing to meet us halfway, it's tough. We can't really do much.